Meet Alice, a digital nomad who seamlessly blended work and wanderlust for 3 years, navigating the realms of freelancing to sustain her adventures.
I left the UK in 2016 and spent many years traveling in Latin America, US, Canada, and then Asia before moving to Copenhagen in 2019. And I came to Copenhagen for school.
While the digital nomad lifestyle often seems idyllic, Alice reveals that it's not always a journey without turbulence.
No one ever talked about like the emotional exhaustion you get from traveling. I was traveling solo as well.
Similarly, freelancing, often perceived as a dream work setup, comes with its own set of challenges.
I've just had experiences with clients that have been very difficult to work with.
Join us as we delve deeper into Alice's story, exploring the intricacies of freelancing, financial management, and travel, as well as her pivot back to academia after 3 years of globetrotting. So let's start with one of the most important questions. How did Alice financially navigate through her global adventures?
3-4 days a week working for other marketing companies, and then the rest of the week I was purely freelancing. So in the evenings, my days off, on the weekends, I was doing my own stuff.
So in 2016, Alice embarked on a digital nomad journey, utilizing Upwork to fund her adventures. Let's hear from Alice herself on the freelance work that fueled her travels.
I am currently a freelance graphic designer. Before, it was anything and everything that a client would ask, I would do. Now I like to work with clients that are rebranding or just need a new logo or brand for their company. And then typically other assets follow, so like a website or like business cards or social media assets follow. So yeah, normally tend to start with logo design, and then it just seems like the easier way in. Purely from my freelance work, I will make anything from 2,000 to 3,000 a month, which is profit, and that is really variable from month to month. It used to be more. When I was peaking, I would be looking at around like 6,000-7,000 a month. But that was like a really good month, and that was like when I was doing it full time.
Choosing a life of travel and work, Alice turned to freelancing. But what sparked this decision? Alice shares her why next.
I wanted to earn some extra cash, and I knew deep down that it was always a dream of mine to be a freelancer and like to have my own schedule and be independent and not have to rely on this hierarchy in an office and have managers above me telling me what to do. I've always been very independent in that way. I just started applying for jobs. Anything. I remember like the first few jobs I got on Upwork was like social media management or content creation. Something that I was doing already in my marketing position, but not something I was super passionate about or had a lot of experience in. And yeah, it kind of snowballed. I think I realized what my strengths were very quickly. I'd say I was probably freelancing for like 9 months whilst also working on other positions. So that was kind of like my side hustle. There's a moment where I was like, okay, I'm getting clients. I'm earning enough money where I could sustain myself. Like I could do this full time if I take it seriously and like really put all my energy into this. Like I don't need to go back to London and work in an office. Those are the days, because I just finished working in email marketing in London for huge companies. And that was like what I was doing for a full-time job. I was like an email marketing specialist. So yeah, I had a lot of clients that were interested in that. And I realized that I knew so much about it that I could do it independently without having to work for another company. Like, it seems crazy to say that out loud, but yeah, I guess I was also quite young then. I was maybe 26. I never worked independently. I'd always worked for a company and had managers and people telling me what to do every day. So for me to realize that I actually knew things without having to work for someone else was kind of like, oh, okay, like I can do this by myself.
So having navigated the freelancing path, what tips does Alice have for newcomers? Let's hear her advice.
I used to get a lot of people actually writing to me on social media or LinkedIn, asking to like meet over Zoom or meet for a coffee to kind of like get some opinions or support on somebody wanting to become freelance, which I always found like super cool that people would be even interested in like my opinion on that. And I always said pretty much the same thing to anyone, like if you're thinking about going freelance and you're scared, which I can really understand, then the only reason why I went freelance is because I was in a fortunate position where I was working, but I also really, really needed the money as well. Like there's kind of like an element of desperation. I had a lot of people say, I'm super scared. Like I don't want to quit my job. Don't quit your job to go freelance. Like don't do that. Don't keep it as a side hustle to begin with. Just do it in your free time. And if people are like, I don't have the time or the energy after work, then I don't think it's really your passion if you don't have that energy to do it in your free time, like on a Sunday or a Saturday when you're not working. You really have to have that self-drive and determination. And yeah, you might have to sacrifice, some of your social life. But if it's something that you really want and you want to have that lifestyle and that independence, then don't let anyone or anything hold you back from that. And just, go for it. Ask for advice, ask for help. I know a lot of other freelancers are more than happy to talk about their experiences and give advice where they can. I don't think I've ever met a freelancer who is secretive about that. Find your people who are in a similar situation and help each other. I think that really helps other people.
So Alice faced tough clients while freelancing on Upwork, but how stressful was it? Let's hear Alice's take on this.
I'm sure any freelancer can relate to this. I've just had experiences with clients that have been very difficult to work with, very confrontational, very disrespectful in terms of how they speak to me or write to me, very demanding, trying to get free work that is out of scope, being very difficult in terms of timelines, requesting refunds on work that's been completed because they can on Upwork, just leaving like a bad taste, basically. And in the beginning, I was a lot more feisty. I could deal with clients like this. I had the energy to deal with clients like this and people like this. But now I'm like, life is too short. I don't see people dealing with this, my friends who work for companies. And I know obviously people have different things going on at work and it's different situations, but I don't think I get paid enough to deal with some of these clients that are really, really difficult to work with and that literally give me anxiety. Now I'm very selective with the clients I work with and I will do discovery calls and have these conversations. But even then, sometimes I doubt my gut feeling and I will take a client on and then like 6 months will go by and I'm like, I should have listened to my gut feeling. I should not have taken this client on because now I'm dreading it. I'm dreading dealing with this client. I've wasted hours of time. I've made no money practically. And here we are. And now they're going to leave me a negative review or score on Upwork, which is going to affect the next like 6 months of work. So I've had clients that really expect the world and they will pay like $100 and I'm like, okay. And we'll just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And then if you don't give them what they want, you have this thing over your head where they're like, they're going to leave you a bad review on Upwork.
And you don't want that, so you're going to keep going.
Yeah. And this is why I also hate Upwork, because I shouldn't have to depend on this one client to dictate the next 6 months of my future earnings from Upwork, which is why I also take a lot of clients outside Upwork, because I don't have this threat over me, because that's what it is ultimately. The clients didn't have
threat
anything.
Of the review, you mean?
Yeah. And it's horrible. It really is horrible. And luckily, being a top-rated freelancer, you can remove feedback or stuff that affects your job score, which is fine. But the private feedback, you can never remove that. That will still affect your job score. I sometimes don't think that clients realize the impact they have on a freelancer when they leave negative feedback or give a bad score, how much it can affect a freelancer, especially if you are depending on this work from Upwork, 100% of your income.
So the digital nomad lifestyle, while adventurous, can also be demanding and emotionally taxing. So how did the constant movement and lack of stability affect Alice? Let's explore her experiences.
I was actually traveling around a little bit. I went from Latin America to New York, spent a few months there meeting clients from Upwork actually. And then I moved to Montreal. I was there for about 9 months, moved back to Mexico because it was cheap to live. And I also wanted to go back to Spanish school. I'd been learning Spanish and I was like, okay, I felt that if I lived in a cheap enough country, I could experiment being a freelancer and seeing how far I could get with it and living in Latin America, I could be earning dollars or pounds and afford to live there and make some mistakes and lose clients. Or then I spent like 6 months in Asia, and it was that point where I was kind of craving some stability. I missed having a bit of a routine. I was also exhausted from traveling. No one ever talks about like the emotional exhaustion you get from traveling. I was traveling solo as well, like the constant wheel of like making new friends and meeting people, then starting again the next week or day or something. It was getting a lot.
So freelancing while traversing the globe offered Alice unique lessons and insights. So what did this dual journey teach her? Let's explore.
I feel like I learned a lot about myself in terms of being independent and knowing that I can survive with my work from anywhere. I'm very self-sufficient. I think I learned a lot of skills to be able to be self-sufficient. But yeah, I also realized that as humans, I think that we crave routine and structure. I know I was, and I think I was a lot happier having that structure and routine in a way, which is a strange thing to learn because I think the grass is always greener when you're traveling and having like digital nomad life, working anywhere. You never know what's going to happen. Sometimes
it seems like it, or is it?
Yeah,
or?
I think, yeah, I mean, I also sometimes miss it now. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, but it was so exhausting. And I think it goes hand in hand with like this lifestyle of being a freelancer. Like you're not really sure when the next client's going to come along or how much money you're going to earn the next month, and that not being able to predict and having that like safety. I think the older I get, it becomes more important for me to have that like safety and structure, and so I can depend on something and not just purely rely on clients that may or may not take me on. Whereas when I was in my 20s, it was like, whatever happens. Yeah, like it'll come along. Work will always come. And it's true, work does always come, for sure, but it's also nice to have a bit of structure.
So after years of freelancing and traveling, Alice chose a new path in 2019, returning to school. What prompted this shift? Let's delve into her decision.
I wanted to go back to school because I've been running my freelance business and hiring other designers to work with me, but I actually had no education on how to run a business. Just felt like maybe I should do that. I don't know. It just made sense in my head to kind of like go back to school, and I kind of wanted to prove to myself that I could. So that's how I ended up in Denmark, in Copenhagen. And when I went back to school at the end of 2019, so just before COVID, that's when my schedule kind of changed, and I was at school 3 days out of the week, and then also studying outside of school hours. At that time, I'd say it was a good 50-50. So 50% studying, 50% working on my own business. Yeah, when I went back to school originally. And then during COVID, I lost a lot of clients. I had a lot of clients in Asia and Australia. And obviously that's where COVID hit first, before it came to Europe. I lost like 2 or 3 clients of my big ones in like Singapore and Japan. And I think I just realized that, okay, like something is happening here. Like this isn't just gonna be like a quick couple of months long flu. Okay. So I kind of got a little bit scared, and I was like, if I'm losing clients already now, imagine when it comes to Europe and the US where the majority of my clients are. So I started working part-time at the university that I was studying at as well. I was studying entrepreneurship and innovation, and there was a position at the university that was focused on entrepreneurship, like an incubation program, which kind of fit perfectly with what I was studying, but also being my own business owner, it kind of fit perfectly to what I was doing. So
why choose Denmark for studies? Let's hear Alice's insights on this Nordic educational destination.
So when you're a student in, I presume it's the same in Sweden and Finland, I'm not sure, but in Denmark, if you're Danish, the government pays you every month a small amount of money that allows you to pay for your rent and live. And if you live in the EU, you can get the same money. You just have to work 10 to 15 hours a week for a Danish company, which is what I do. I work for the university that I study at in a student position. So that was also a massive perk because during COVID, obviously, the economy was very unstable in a lot of places, including Denmark. My own business was very unstable. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. So it was good to have this other revenue coming in that I knew I could rely on. So I work at the university. I work like 15, 20 hours a week at the university in the communications and like event part of the incubation program. And that per month, and you'll have to bear with me right now because let me just check my currency because I get paid in krona, right? We're talking like $800 a month. And then on top of that, I probably get the same from the government paying me for nothing, just going to school and working.
Oh, okay, I didn't get that. So you basically get something from the government without you working for the government, like while being a student. But you get something extra if you work for the university.
Well, if you're Danish, you get that money regardless whether you work or not.
The $800.
I have to work. Yeah, I have to work to get that money, obviously. So
but you get it two times basically. So $800 from the government and $800 from the university.
Yeah, from the salary. Yeah, from my salary.
And if you're Danish, you get 1,600 regardless. Or
you just get the 800.
So post-graduation, will Alice return to freelancing or explore new paths? Let's hear her upcoming plans.
So I will just go back to my freelance work, most likely for the next few months, whilst I figure out what I want to do next. In an ideal world, I would probably actually like to go back working for someone else full time because of what I just mentioned with structure. And I think in the last year, working with clients whilst also studying full time, it's been quite stressful. I actually also wanted to, during COVID, being like a designer, I wanted to like create some like children's books. I had so many like ideas that I could like then sell on Amazon and just have it as like another income stream and like something creative that I could do and something I could create, then like leave it out there. I just never got around to it. And like, I always think back like, oh, I should really do that. Like I should really like, and also maybe over summer I will, like I have a bit of extra time. I'd like to create some like more like creative products that I could just like leave out there and like hopefully it would drive some income.